is historically, the data that we have is largely centered around men. So all the studies, when we look at, okay, these are the vitamins you should take, and this is the nutrients you should eat, and this is the muscle you should build, and all that, these are all based on male anatomy, male physiology, and studies done on men. And so there's now this light on this sort of glaring gap in the knowledge that we have of female physiology and how to use what we understand of wellness and nutrition and health to actually contribute to women's health. So it's kind of interesting where we might be taking steps backwards in some ways, but in this space we're actually shedding light on what has always been a gap and trying to move forward. So that's on that side of things, that was encouraging for me to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a positive step. And on that topic, actually, one area that's really like not gotten a lot of attention, but recently is starting to get more attention is perimenopause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In that, like, it just, people usually have talked about it and said like, oh, well, like women like have their childbearing years and then there's menopause. But now like people are realizing like, well, there's kind of like this like 10 or 15 years period
Yeah.
where like you're not feeling great, but you're
Right.
not in menopause. And that has even less like research, but it actually is a prolonged period of time that people actually need support on,
Yeah.
both emotionally as well as physically.
Agreed. I have very little knowledge of that, right? Of what
Mm.
happens during perimenopause. I at one point did a specialization in women's fitness, and so through that coursework, I learned about the different hormonal life cycles that women go through, including the various phases of premenopause and perimenopause and menopause and so on and so forth, and childbearing and all that. Um, but it was really the education was based on a fitness standpoint, right? So it was a
Yeah.
women's fitness specialization. So it wasn't necessarily a women's health or mental health specialization. And actually, that's an interesting point that you bring that up. I'm curious, in your work with your clients, is that something that you try to make sure you understand is for female clients in particular, like what phase of their life they're in hormonally?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's definitely not something I specifically ask people.
Okay.
And yet, I would say that the many of my clients are in their 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
In that, I tend to work with more leaders and executives, people with more like complex situations.
Yeah.
And I would say that, like most people are kind of predictable. Like sometime in your 40s and 50s, you have some sort of midlife crisis or midlife reinvention, right?
Yeah.
Where you just, oh, I've been grinding all this time. Now I'm just really tired. Or like now I've kind of like made it, and like it's not just about getting a paycheck anymore, but how can
Yeah.
I incorporate like who I am as a person with and my values, and like what really feels mission and vision aligned with my work. Like how, like I just don't want to tolerate like life being like all of these different silos. Like I
Yeah.
really desire this integration.
I love that you call that a midlife reinvention.
Yeah.
Because yeah, some
Mhm.
people will see it as a crisis, right? Like, oh, you're upheaving your life, but hey, I'm making my life what I need to be a happy and fulfilled person.